You probably already know enough to change your life. That may be the problem. You know what you should do. You know the habit you need to build. You know the work you keep postponing. You know what needs to change. And yet somehow another day passes. Then another. And before you know it, you are standing in the same place, looking at the same dreams, making the same promises to yourself. Tomorrow. I'll start next week. When things settle down. When I feel motivated. But let me ask you something. How many tomorrows have you already spent? Because the distance between the life you have and the life you want is often not a lack of knowledge. It is the distance between what you know and what you actually do. And that distance is where dreams disappear. You can read another book, watch another video, write another plan, buy another notebook, make another promise. But none of it changes your life until something changes in your behavior. Information can show you the door. Only action takes you through it. And that is the uncomfortable truth most people spend years avoiding. They do not need another explanation. They need to stop negotiating with the decision they have already made. You already know enough to begin. The question is whether you are willing to begin before you feel ready. Because if you wait until you feel ready, you may wait for the rest of your life. There will always be another reason, another problem, another distraction, another excuse that sounds reasonable enough to believe. And while you are finding reasons to wait, time is quietly making decisions for you. That is what makes inaction so dangerous. It does not feel like a decision. You simply do nothing. But doing nothing is still a decision. Every day you delay the work, you are choosing to remain where you are. Every time you say, "I'll start later," you are voting for later. And later is a place where many dreams go to die. Now, before you become discouraged, understand something important. You do not need to transform your entire life today. You do not need to solve every problem. You do not need to become a completely different person by tonight. You need to do the next right thing. That is all. One page, one workout, one phone call, 1 hour of focused work, one honest decision, one promise kept. People underestimate small actions because small actions do not feel dramatic. But your life is not built by dramatic moments alone. It is built by what you repeat when nothing dramatic is happening. That is where your future is being created. Not in the moment when you finally become successful. In the ordinary moments before anyone knows your name. When you could scroll, but you study. When you could quit, but you continue. When you could spend, but you save. When you could complain, but you take responsibility. When you could stay comfortable, but you choose growth. Those moments look insignificant. They are not. They are votes. Every action is a vote for the person you are becoming. And eventually, enough votes create an identity. You become the person who follows through. The person who keeps promises. The person who finishes what they start. The person who no longer needs to be pushed by someone else. That is where real change begins. Not when you get a new goal. When you become a different kind of person. Most people are trying to change their results without changing their routines. They want a stronger body with the same habits. More money with the same financial decisions. More confidence while continuing to avoid everything that would build confidence. A better life while continuing to live by the same patterns. It does not work that way. Your results are usually a reflection of your repeated choices. Change the choices. Repeat them long enough. Eventually, the results have no choice but to change. That is not magic. That is cause and effect. And this is why success is far less mysterious than people think. Success is not reserved for the lucky. It is not waiting for a special group of people. It is usually built through simple actions that are easy to understand, but difficult to repeat. Work when it is time to work. Learn when it is time to learn. Save when it is time to save. Practice when it is time to practice. Rest when rest is necessary, and then return to the work again, and again, and again. The actions are often simple. The challenge is staying with them long enough for them to change you. That is the part most people never learn. They want the reward of consistency without experiencing the boredom of repetition. They want the body without the training, the skill without the practice, the freedom without the sacrifice, the confidence without the uncomfortable attempts. But every result has a process behind it, and every process has a price. You cannot skip the price and still expect to receive the reward. Now here is where many people misunderstand motivation. They think motivation comes first. They believe they need to feel inspired before they begin. But what if that is backward? What if motivation is often the result of movement? You take the first step, then you feel a little more capable. You complete one task, then you trust yourself a little more. You keep one promise. Then your confidence grows. You act. Then momentum begins. The person sitting on the couch waiting to feel motivated is waiting for a feeling that may never arrive. The person who stands up and begins creates the feeling through action. That is why the first step matters so much. Not because it takes you all the way to the destination, because it breaks the spell of inaction. And once you begin moving, something changes. The problem may still be there. The work may still be difficult, but now you are no longer trapped in thought. You are in motion, and motion creates information. You discover what works. You discover what does not. You adjust. You improve. You become clearer. Clarity is often not found before action. It is found through action. You do not think your way into every answer. Sometimes you have to move your way toward it. This is why waiting for certainty is another form of procrastination. You want to know exactly how everything will turn out before you begin. But life rarely gives you that guarantee. The first step is often taken in uncertainty. The first business is started without knowing everything. The first workout happens before the body is ready. The first page is written before the person feels like a writer. The first attempt is usually imperfect. That is normal. The beginning is supposed to be awkward. You are supposed to be inexperienced at something you have never done before. Do not demand mastery from yourself at the beginning. Demand participation. Show up, learn, improve, repeat. The person who takes imperfect action will eventually become better than the person who spends years planning the perfect beginning. Because perfection is often just fear wearing a more respectable outfit. It sounds like preparation. But sometimes it is simply avoidance. Just one more book. Just a little more research. I need a better plan. Maybe. Or maybe you need to begin. You will learn more from 10 days of real experience than from 10 months of imagining what the experience might be. Action reveals reality, and reality is where growth happens. Now let us talk about discipline. Because eventually, every worthwhile goal reaches a point where excitement disappears. At the beginning, everything feels new. You are excited. You make plans. You imagine the future. You can see the person you might become. Then the novelty fades. The work becomes repetitive. The results are slow. The excitement disappears. And this is the moment that separates people who wish from people who build. Because motivation is emotional. Discipline is a decision. Motivation says, I feel like doing this. Discipline says, this matters, so I will do it. That difference can change your entire life. You cannot build a future by only doing things when you feel like doing them. Your feelings change too often. One morning you are confident. The next morning you doubt yourself. One day you are inspired. The next day you are exhausted. If your actions are controlled by every emotional change, your progress will always be unstable. You need something deeper than a mood. You need a standard. A standard says, this is what I do. Not, I do this when I feel like it. There is a tremendous difference. The person who says, I am trying to exercise, can stop whenever the mood changes. The person who says, I am someone who takes care of my body, has created an identity. The first person is constantly negotiating. The second person is simply acting according to who they believe they are. And that is the power of identity. Your behavior eventually follows the story you tell yourself about who you are. If you repeatedly tell yourself that you are lazy, you will find evidence. If you repeatedly tell yourself that you never finish anything, you will act in ways that confirm it. But if you begin keeping small promises to yourself, something changes. you begin to see yourself differently. I said I would do it, and I did. That may seem small. It is not. Self-respect is built that way. Confidence is built that way. Not by repeating positive words in the mirror, while breaking every promise you make to yourself. Confidence comes from evidence, and the evidence is your behavior. Every time you do what you said you would do, you give yourself another reason to trust yourself. Every time you repeatedly abandon your own commitments, you teach yourself the opposite. So if you want more confidence, start by keeping smaller promises. Do not promise yourself an impossible life transformation by Monday. Promise yourself something you can actually complete, then complete it, and tomorrow do it again. That is how trust is built, quietly, repeatedly, without applause. Now, perhaps you are thinking, but what if I have already wasted years? Then stop wasting more. You cannot change the years behind you, but you can stop allowing them to control the years ahead. Regret is useful only when it teaches you something. If you look backward simply to punish yourself, you are wasting the lesson. Take responsibility, learn, then move. The past cannot be edited, but the meaning of the past can change depending on what you do next. The failure that once embarrassed you can become the lesson that saves you. The year you wasted can become the year you finally decided to stop wasting time. The mistake can become the beginning of wisdom, but only if you do something with it. Nothing changes simply because you understand the mistake. Change begins when your behavior changes because of it. That is the difference between learning and transformation. Learning says, now I know. Transformation says, now I live differently. And your life is always revealing which one is happening. You can say you value health. Your habits reveal whether you do. You can say you value freedom. Your financial decisions reveal whether you do. You can say you value your dream. Your calendar reveals whether you do. Your priorities are not what you say matters. Your priorities are what repeatedly receive your time. That may be uncomfortable to hear, but it is also empowering. Because if your life is being shaped by repeated choices, then you can begin making different choices. You do not have to change everything at once. You need to change what happens repeatedly. A single decision can redirect a life, but a repeated decision builds one. And that is why today matters. Not because one day magically determines everything, because today is where repetition begins. You do not need to become extraordinary today. You need to do something today that your old self would have avoided. That is enough. Then tomorrow, do it again. Eventually, the thing that once required tremendous effort becomes normal. That is how habits work. The difficult becomes familiar. The unfamiliar becomes routine. The routine becomes automatic. And the automatic begins producing results. But you must survive the beginning. The beginning is where most people quit. They expect progress to be visible immediately. They expect the first workout to change their body, the first book to change their mind, the first week of saving to create financial freedom, the first month of effort to produce a completely different life. It does not work that way. Growth is often invisible before it becomes obvious. A seed spends time underground. A foundation is built beneath the surface. A skill develops through repetitions that look almost identical. For a long time, you may feel as though nothing is happening. And then suddenly, other people notice. They say you have changed. They say you are disciplined now. They say you are lucky. But you know the truth. The change was happening long before anyone could see it. That is why you must learn to work without immediate applause. The world rewards results. But your job is to build the process. You cannot control exactly when the reward appears. You can control whether you continue. And consistency is powerful because it allows time to work on your behalf. One day of effort is small. A year of effort is something else. One page is small. 1,000 pages is education. One workout is small. Hundreds of workouts change a body. One saved amount is small. Years of wise decisions create options. One conversation may not change a relationship, but repeated attention can. Small actions do not stay small when repeated long enough. That is the secret most people overlook. They look at the action and ask, What will this do today? The better question is, what will this become if I repeat it for years? That question changes the way you see everything. The snack is not just a snack, it is a vote. The hour is not just an hour, it is an investment. The decision is not just a decision, it is practice for the person you are becoming. And the direction of your life is often determined by what you repeatedly practice. So practice discipline. Practice patience. Practice focus. Practice finishing. Practice doing what you said you would do. Because you become good at whatever you repeatedly do. And if you repeatedly practice quitting, quitting becomes easier. If you repeatedly practice delay, delay becomes natural. If you repeatedly practice excuses, excuses become automatic. But the opposite is also true. Practice action. Action becomes easier. Practice courage. Courage becomes stronger. Practice discipline. Discipline becomes familiar. You are always training something. The question is, what are you training? Now, there is another enemy that quietly destroys progress. Comparison. You look at someone else's results, and suddenly your own progress feels worthless. You see their success. You do not see their beginning. You see their confidence. You do not see their years of uncertainty. You see the finished building. You do not see the foundation. And then you judge your first chapter against their final chapter. That is foolish. Your job is not to become someone else. Your job is to become better than the person you were yesterday. That is the only comparison that can consistently make you stronger. You may be behind someone else. You may be ahead of someone else. Neither changes your responsibility. Your responsibility is your next action, the next page, the next workout, the next hour, the next decision. Do not waste the energy you need for your future envying someone else's present. Study people. Learn from people. Let their success remind you what is possible, but do not let their progress become an excuse to abandon your own. Your path is your path, and the only way to discover where it leads is to keep walking. Now, understand this, there will be setbacks. You will make mistakes. You will have bad days. You will lose momentum. You will sometimes return to old habits. Do not turn one bad day into a new identity. A missed workout is not a failed life. A bad week is not a permanent condition. A mistake is not a command to keep making the same mistake. Return. That is the skill. The strongest people are not people who never fall out of rhythm. They are people who return to the rhythm faster. They do not waste a month because they missed one day. They do not destroy the future because the present became difficult. They adjust, they learn, they begin again. And beginning again is not weakness. Sometimes it is the most disciplined thing you can do. You are allowed to start over, but start with more wisdom than you had before. Do not repeat the same beginning forever. Learn from the last one. Move differently. Choose better. The goal is not to create a perfect life. The goal is to create a life that keeps moving in the right direction. That is enough. You do not need perfection. You need direction. You do not need to win every day. You need to stop losing the same day over and over again. You do not need to feel powerful. You need to make one powerful decision. And that decision may be very simple. Today, I will do what I said I would do. Not everything, not perfectly, but something. Because something done consistently is more powerful than everything imagined. Your future is not built by your intentions. It is built by your schedule. Look at your calendar. Look at your habits. Look at your repeated choices. That is the direction you are currently heading. If you do not like the destination, do not curse the destination. Change the direction. And direction changes through action. Not through wishing, not through complaining, not through waiting. Action. One adjustment, then another. That is how a ship changes course. Not by turning the entire ocean, by changing its direction a few degrees. And over time, it arrives somewhere completely different. Your life works the same way. One habit can change your health. One skill can change your income. One decision can change your relationships. 1 year of focused effort can make your former life almost unrecognizable. But you must begin. You must stop waiting for the person you want to become to arrive and do the work for you. That person is not coming. You are the person. You are the beginning. You are the one who has to make the call, open the book, take the course, go to the gym, start the business, have the conversation, apply for the opportunity, set the boundary, make the change. You can continue explaining why you are not ready, or you can become ready by beginning. The choice is yours. And perhaps you are waiting for confidence. But confidence is not a prerequisite for action. Confidence is often the reward for action. You become confident by proving to yourself that you can handle things you once feared. You become courageous by doing things while afraid. You become disciplined by acting when you do not feel like it. You become successful by repeatedly doing what creates success. The identity comes after the evidence, so give yourself evidence. Do something difficult. Keep a promise. Finish a task. Take the step. Then notice what happens inside you. You begin to realize, I can trust myself. That realization is worth more than temporary motivation. Because once you trust yourself, you stop needing constant external permission. You stop waiting for someone to tell you that you can begin. You stop needing the perfect conditions. You become your own proof. And that is when everything begins to change. Not when the world changes. When you change your relationship with your own word. When you say you will do something, and then you do it. That is the foundation. Now, let me ask you something serious. What would your life look like 1 year from now if you stopped waiting? Not if you became perfect. If you simply stopped waiting, what would happen if you gave 1 year to a single skill? 1 year to your health. 1 year to your business. 1 year to your education. 1 year of disciplined action. You may not recognize the person standing in the mirror. But here is the danger. The opposite is also true. 1 year can pass while you remain exactly where you are. The calendar does not care whether you use the year. Time moves either way. The question is not whether next year will arrive. It will. The question is who will arrive with it. Will you be the same person with the same excuses? Or will you be someone who finally decided that enough was enough? That is not a decision you make once. It is a decision you make through your behavior. Every morning, you answer it. Every evening, you answer it. Your life is asking, what are you going to do with today? And the answer is not in your thoughts. It is in your actions. So stop searching for a magical moment. There is no perfect morning coming to rescue you. There is no future version of yourself who will suddenly appear and make everything easy. There is only this moment, this decision, this opportunity to do something different. You may not be able to control the entire future, but you can control what you do next. And what you do next is where power begins. Take the next step, then take the next one. You do not need to see the entire staircase. You need to stop standing at the bottom explaining why you cannot climb it. Climb, slowly if necessary, carefully if necessary, but climb. Because every step changes your position. And sometimes progress is simply the distance between where you were standing and where you are standing now. That distance matters. Do not despise small progress. Do not mock the beginning. Do not underestimate one disciplined day. One disciplined day becomes a week. A week becomes a month becomes a year becomes a different life. And a different life is often created by repeating the right day. Again and again and again. The world will not always reward you immediately. Do the work anyway. People will not always understand your choices. Keep your standards anyway. You will not always feel confident. Move anyway. You will not always know exactly what comes next. Take the next step anyway. Because the person who waits for certainty often watches opportunity past the person who was willing to begin with questions. You do not need every answer. You need enough courage for the next action. And then the next answer often appears. That is how life works. The road reveals itself to the person who walks. Now, remember the central truth. You do not change your life by learning what to do. You change your life by doing what you already know. The book cannot do the reading for you. The plan cannot do the work for you. The goal cannot take the first step for you. The dream cannot become reality by being admired. At some point, you must act. And that point is now. Not because you feel ready, because waiting has already cost enough. You have already spent enough time thinking about the life you could build. Now build. You have already imagined the person you could become. Now become. You have already promised yourself that things will change. Now give that promise evidence. One action, then another, then another. That is how you become different. Not through a dramatic announcement, through a quiet decision repeated until it becomes your life. And one day, perhaps sooner than you think, you will look back. You will remember the version of yourself who kept delaying, the version who kept waiting, the version who knew exactly what to do, but kept searching for another answer. And you will realize something. The answer was never missing. You were simply waiting to use it. The opportunity was not always perfect. The timing was not always ideal. The confidence was not always present. But you started anyway. And because you started, you discovered what was possible. Because you continued, you discovered what you were capable of. Because you refused to let one bad day become a bad life, you kept moving. Because you kept moving, you eventually arrived somewhere your old self could not imagine. That is the power of action. Action turns knowledge into ability. Action turns plans into progress. Action turns fear into experience. Action turns discipline into identity. Action turns potential into results. So from this moment forward, stop asking yourself, do I feel like it? Ask, what is the next thing that needs to be done? Then do it. Stop asking, what if I fail? Ask, what will I learn if I try? Then begin. Stop asking, when will the perfect time arrive? Ask, what can I do with the time I have? Then use it. Stop asking, who will believe in me? Ask, will I believe in myself enough to take the next step? Then take it. You do not need permission to improve your life. You do not need to wait for the world to approve your dream. You do not need to become fearless. You need to become willing. Willing to begin. Willing to be uncomfortable. Willing to be a beginner. Willing to be consistent when the excitement disappears. Willing to continue when the results are invisible. Willing to become the person your future requires. Because that is the real work. Not simply getting more, becoming more. More disciplined, more capable, more focused, more patient, more courageous, more responsible, more consistent. And when you become more, you are able to handle more opportunity, more responsibility, more success, more freedom. The world does not always give you more because you want more. You must become the person who can carry more. And that transformation begins with the smallest decision. Do the next right thing. Today, not someday. Today. Then tomorrow, do it again. The life you want is not waiting at the end of some magical future. It is being built in the choices you are making right now. So make a better choice. Take the action. Keep the promise. Start the work. And when you do not feel like continuing, remember why you began. When progress is slow, remember that roots grow before branches appear. When fear speaks, remember that courage is not the absence of fear. It is action in the presence of fear. When you fail, learn. When you fall, rise. When you lose momentum, begin again. But whatever you do not spend your entire life standing beside the door, explaining why you have not walked through it. You already know enough. You have already waited long enough. The next chapter will not be written by what you hope to do. It will be written by what you do next. So do something. Not everything. Something. Then do something again tomorrow, and the day after that. Because one action may not change your entire life, but it can change your direction. And a changed direction, repeated long enough, can change everything. Your future is not asking for perfection. It is asking for participation. It is asking you to show up, to take responsibility, to stop waiting for a better version of yourself and start building one. The life you want will not be created by the person you keep promising to become. It will be created by the person you choose to be today. So act before you feel ready. Act before the fear disappears. Act before the conditions are perfect. Act because the moment you take responsibility for your next action is the moment you begin taking responsibility for your future. And one day, when you look back at the life you built, You may discover that everything changed with a decision that seemed almost too small to matter. You got up. You began. You kept going. And then you did it again. That is how a life changes. Not all at once, but one decision at a time. One disciplined day at a time. One action at a time. So take the step. The future is not waiting for you to know more. It is waiting for you to do more with what you already know. And the person you want to become. That person is not somewhere far away. You create that person every time you choose action over delay. Every time you choose discipline over comfort. Every time you choose progress over excuses. Every time you keep going when quitting would be easier. So begin, move, learn, grow, and keep going. Because your life will eventually become the result of what you repeatedly do. Make sure you are repeating something worth becoming.